As we were praying over what Youth Takeover was going to look like, we knew that they were going to be a part of the greeting, coffee, the worship team, everything like that. And commonly at other churches, when you do a youth takeover, the youth pastor is generally the one that will share some form of message. And while I was thinking about what this morning would look like, I was specifically thinking about these four students that I really felt on my heart that they needed to share. These students are wonderful. Some of them, like Callum here, have been at our church for a very, very long time, his entire life. These four have been strong followers of Jesus. They're leaders in our community, in our group. And I was just reminded of the verse in 1 Timothy. We're probably all pretty familiar with it, but I just want to read it for us all today. 1 Timothy, Paul is writing to his disciple Timothy, who he picked up when he was just about these guys' age. Timothy was probably about 16 or 17 years old when he started following Paul around in his ministry. And Paul eventually sends out Timothy, and he writes him this letter, and this is what it says, chapter 4, verse 12. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and purity. This morning, you four have the opportunity to set before all of our church family what it means to be a believer. And I'm so, so excited for us to get to hear from you. So can we welcome up our awesome students this morning? We're going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. We're going to begin on the far end right over here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Avery. I just graduated at Glacier Peak High School, and I'll be attending Wazoo in the fall. I've been at View for about 2 years now.
Hey, y'all. My name is Mateo. I just graduated Glacier Peak High School as well. I'll be attending the University of Idaho in the fall, and I've been going to the View for about 3 years now.
Hi guys, my name is Finley. I also graduated from Glacier Peak High School, and I'm going to Western Washington University in the fall, and I've been coming to View for about 2 years.
And hey everybody, I'm Callum. I'll be a senior at Glacier Peak High School next year. I've been here for about 17 years.
And Callum, how old are you?
Oh, and I'm 17 years old.
Well, we're going to just kick it off with a kind of simple introductory question. They're going to have the opportunity to share. How did you guys begin to follow Jesus? And we'll start over there with you, Avery.
My relationship with Jesus began at a very young age. I grew up in a private Christian school, so I knew Jesus as early as pre-kindergarten. But it wasn't until my freshman year of high school where my relationship with Jesus became really personal to me.
My relationship with Jesus started early in my life. My parents always took me to church, youth group, and sent me to summer camps, but it never became intentional to me until about my middle school years when I discovered all the things that made me happy, like social circles and sports and getting good grades, weren't truly fulfilling me. So I met Jesus and found out that he's the true fulfillment.
I didn't grow up Christian. I started coming here about 2 years, like I said, my junior year. I found out about View Youth my freshman year, I think. I didn't really come consistently until 2 years ago. And serving really helped me get involved in the community, and just there's so, like, you don't have to be good at anything. Well, okay, that sounds really bad. But, like, you don't have to be an expert in kids if you want to serve in kids. Like, I started serving when I was, like, 16 years old. So just you can be greeter, do coffee, whatever. It just helps you connect with so many amazing people here.
Yeah, and I was born into a Christian family. I was practically raised in this church and young life, and I really only started taking my faith seriously from about starting in like 5th or 6th grade when I went through some heavy bullying, and I had to like rely on the Lord and my parents and my church community to get me through that.
Yeah, if you've been a believer for some time, you know that following Jesus isn't just always easy. It doesn't make everything perfect right off the bat, and oftentimes following Jesus can lead to struggle. And so, Callum, we're just going to kick it right back to you with our second question, which is those struggles we're talking about. What was something that was difficult? What is a way that your faith was tested?
Yeah, as I just said, all throughout elementary school and the beginning of middle school, I got heavily bullied by almost everybody in my school. And that was really challenging because I started to like not want to go to school at all. And my mom can attest to this. I would come home like probably every day crying to her, and me and my dad would get into big fights because I didn't know how to take out my anger and like all the feelings that I had productively. And so I just kind of bottled it all up, and then me and my dad would get into a fight, and I kind of just let it out and treated him in ways that he should have never been treated by me. And I probably haven't said I'm sorry enough for that. But yeah, and I really had to rely on the Lord and my parents and my community. I remember one time when we were at the Snohomish campus of View at AIM High School, how my mom pulled me out of Sunday school in 6th grade to get prayed for by almost our entire church. And that's just something that stuck with me since then.
For me, I get super anxious when I'm about to do worship. Luckily, I have an amazing support community around me, and I have a lot of experienced people who are usually serving with me, and they really help me and pray over me and whatever I need. One of the men who serves with me, Andrew, he just said it's not about performance, it's just about worshiping the Lord, and that's really stuck with me because this is the last place someone's going to judge you for anything. So if I'm nervous about missing a note or singing at the wrong time, everyone else doesn't even care. They're just here to spend time with the Lord. So that's just really helped me trust.
That's good. What about you, Mateo?
One time I could think of specifically is this year. I've dealt with a lot of mental battles and the loss of my grandpa and just like a lot of depression. But through this, God has been with me the entire time. And he constantly reminds me that since he's never left my side, that I could be confident that in the future he'll never leave my side ever. And he's really grown my faith through this time of testing.
One time for me this year as well, senior year was super fun, but the last 3 months of senior year, I was really struggling with my future plans. Everyone around me seemed like they had it all figured out with the college they were going to, or especially their living situations in the future. I really had to lean on Jesus really hard just because I wasn't sure. So during prayer, I would pray by myself and then ask everyone else around me. So I'm really thankful for everyone who prayed for me during those times.
I think something cool in pretty much all of their testimonies is when we are faced with times of difficulty and pressure in our faith, it's really like community and the people around us that can rally us and really push us back towards Jesus. And community is so essential. It's such a forming piece of our faith. And so we're going to talk about community next. We're going to talk about our friends. We're going to talk about our church community. And so Avery, why don't you kick us off this time and just tell us how is this affected?
For me in high school, I remember just feeling so misunderstood because I didn't really have a great group especially freshman year of high school. I was coming from a private school. There was barely anyone going to my high school at Glacier Peak. And so that transition from a private school to public school is really hard just because I literally had no friends and I was trying to continue my relationship with Jesus. And I just had no one to lean on. But one thing that I will say is View Youth has definitely been my rock these past 2 years. I'm just so thankful for everybody.
One thing that was for sure difficult for me, and I'm sure a lot of younger students in this room can relate to this if you have a job or play a sport, is just getting caught in the hustle and bustle of things and just it being really difficult to find that time with Jesus when you're busy all day and you have homework and you have school and you have all your extracurriculars. But one thing that I've found is being able to find that time with Jesus through the busyness just makes it that much more meaningful. And being able to spend time with him, even when it's hard, makes it all the more worth it.
That's a really important lesson that you learn now, because I think every adult in the room will testify that life does not slow down post-high school. And so that's really cool that you've learned that already. Finley, what about you? What was a difficult part of being a Christian in high school?
Yeah, for me, I have a bunch of friends who aren't Christian, and they just have different morals and values as I do. And even for some of my friends who are Christian, there's some things I felt convicted about that they might not feel convicted about, and it's really hard to deal with that because you think they're not doing the right thing, but it's not your place to judge. It's not your place to say anything. I mean, if you want to help them, you can, but just especially if my friends who aren't religious are going through a hard time, and I'm like, oh, pray about it, but maybe they don't believe in that. It's hard. Also, if I have maybe a piece of scripture I want to give them, I just try to make myself open, and hopefully they know that I'm Christian so that if they want anything, if they need help through any time, I can help them, and I can also be a shoulder for them.
Finley, I want to press into that just a little bit more for a moment, if you don't mind. You said like those situations where you're faced with like friends or peers that have different convictions than you. How would you navigate like something like that? What is a piece of advice that you have for even the adults in the room that have to deal with this at work or with their friends?
Yeah, so I just set boundaries, and if your friends aren't respecting your boundaries, that's just not a true friend. And if it is something that's, adamant, you can always pray. Just talk to the Lord about it if you're struggling. And yeah, just setting clear boundaries that hopefully your friends can respect. If they're doing something that you don't think is right for you, you don't have to do that. Peer pressure is a real thing, but the Lord always has the right way, and so the world does. Their way is wrong. So just trust, and yeah.
Does anybody else have anything they want to share on that? Like, how do you withstand and navigate those situations?
Yeah, I can add something to that. I would say just stick to Jesus no matter what. I'm sure everyone in this room can testify to a time where they had a friend, maybe a close friend, go in a different direction than them. But if you just take it from Jesus and observe the way that he lived, he was always going a different direction and the right direction than everyone else. So just sticking to him no matter what and taking it to him and praying to him about it will help you be able to relate to him a lot and help you get through it.
Yeah, I think we very often get to see like the practical example of Jesus didn't separate himself from sinners and yet continued to live a righteous and perfect life, which is definitely difficult for all of us. Callum, why don't you finish out this question? What is something that's been difficult about being a Christian in high school?
Yeah, probably the hardest part for me about being a Christian in high school is that a lot of my friends aren't Christian. It's about like a 1-to-3 ratio. And there's a lot of peer pressure to partake in stuff that the world marks as normal, that personally, with my beliefs and my morals and my, as Finley said, boundaries, I'm not willing to break those to fit in with the people around me. And I would much rather have one real friend than a ton of fake ones that want to push me to do stuff that I want to do.
Yeah, having a strong community around you that has like similar beliefs is so important. Callum, why don't you tie us into our next question, talking about friendships, talking about church community. How have these people encouraged you?
Yeah, so my faith community has encouraged me in so many ways recently, but just a lot of people I'd like to shout out: Cameron and Madison Fleming, and Sam and Spencer Carter. I don't know if they're here right now, but they have been in my life for about a year now, and they're always there with encouragement, prayer, and anything I need. And me and Cameron have connected, me and Spencer have connected. I always give Madison and Sam hugs when I see them. And it's just like a big part of my life, whether it's going out, getting coffee, getting lunch, or going to play basketball and just talking about life for an hour or two. And it's just a really part of helping me grow in the past year, and I just really value those relationships.
Those relationships are so important. Finley, what about you? Friends, church community?
For me, when I first came, I immediately knew that this was home because I just felt so comfortable here, and I've definitely become more outgoing, and I would say I definitely have more joy in my life now. Just even someone will say hi to me, and I've never seen them before, or they'll have a conversation with me, and I've had conversations with people, and I'm still friends with them to this day. Just our community is so amazing on including new people and just being so open. I'll shout out Bree Sipes. I worked with her last summer.
I got it.
Go ahead, Mateo. Why don't you share?
For me, having someone to pray for me and talk to me about my faith has been so huge. I remember in the fall of last year, Tyler first invited me to come to Wednesday morning Bible studies with a couple of the guys. And I'll shout out Ryan and Kia. And just going to that and having community and having people to talk to about my faith and just like sharing my prayer requests and having him take it in just without even a question was something so awesome to have.
Yeah, having I want to shout out just a couple of the people, some of our core students. They show up at 6 a.m. every Wednesday morning before school to do a Bible study. And so if you're a student in the room, we're not doing 6 a.m. over the summer. We're doing 12:30 here at the church on Wednesdays. So you can still sleep in. But those are such important moments as practicing, like getting in the Word in the morning in community is just such a special time. Avery, can you finish us out with this question?
Yeah, I was so blessed to find such a wonderful community from Young Life. Shout out to my two amazing leaders, Maddie and Zoe. They have been there for me no matter what, even if they're miles away in a different state for school. They've just never failed to send a text or even meet up at Starbucks, and they've just been so supportive no matter what, and I don't know where I would be without them probably, and that has been probably one of the best things I could ever ask for.
Finley, do you want to share the rest of
sorry,
what you
I got
had?
a little emotional there, guys. But I was shouting out Bree last summer. I worked with her in childcare here, and like I said, I didn't grow up Christian, so some of my thoughts that I thought about in the future was I don't know how to raise a family, knowing the Lord. She is such an amazing mother, and there's so many mothers here that are so amazing and just such great role models for me. She also does worship, and just seeing her, she's so anointed and just such a good light of the Lord, and I'm just very grateful for her. There's so many times where I've been in a bad mood and I've gone over to her house, and just she's always there for me, and this community is just so amazing, and I just wanted to shout her out.
That's so sweet, Finley. Callum, we're going to direct this next question starting with you. You're an older brother. You've got two younger siblings that are in the room most likely right now. I don't know where you guys are at the moment. But when you think about younger students, when you think about your siblings or anybody else younger than you at youth, what advice would you give them as they follow Jesus?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice, which is something that I'm personally still working on, that I've been working on for the past few years, is not putting on a mask to try and fit into a crowd that you want to be in, and trying to take that mask on and put it back on in different groups of people, and just be your true and authentic self everywhere you go. And it's so much better than trying to be somebody you're not. And as I was saying earlier, I would rather have one real friend like Mateo and Ryan and Kia and JD and all the other guys in here that I have true, real, deep friendships with than 100 fake friends that just want the worldly expectations out of me.
That's amazing. Finley, what about you? What advice would you give?
For me, I would say be bold in your faith. Don't be afraid to show it, because you don't know you do not know what people are going through. You don't know who you could help. And I'd rather be just loud in my faith and maybe be judged by non-believers than be really quiet and shy and maybe not be helping some people that the Lord has called me to help. And I just think that's what we should be doing. We should be spreading the gospel. And it's so many ways that you can do it. And so I don't know what I think, but I think you should be bold and just tell everyone Jesus loves them, because they do. And I think everyone should know him.
That's so good, Finley. To shout you out for a minute, Finley, I think you really are a strong example of somebody that both professes Jesus with your mouth to your friends and your peers, but also shows him and the love that he has for everyone through your actions. And you do such a good job of that. All of you really do. Mateo, what about you? What advice would you give to younger students trying to follow Jesus?
One piece of advice, and it's kind of something I was going along with earlier, but just stick to Jesus no matter what. In this last year and past few years of my life, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate, things go in all sorts of different directions in life. Your friends are going to change, your future plans might shake up, and things sometimes just feel like they're going down the drain, but through all of it, God stands, and he's been with me the whole time through the thick and thin, and that's what gives me confidence that he'll never leave me.
That's so good. It reminds me of the verse in Hebrews that Jesus is the same that we read in Scripture. He's the same one that we have access to now, and he'll be the same for all of eternity. And while life constantly changes for all of us, he's the one thing that stands true, and it's our job to remain close to him. And so that's so good, Mateo. Avery, what about you? What advice would you give?
The advice that I would give to younger kids would just to remain faithful to Jesus no matter what. Something that I wish I knew was nothing is too little or big for Jesus. Pray about it. I remember I was a freshman in high school, and I was like, oh, I can't pray about friends. Like, that's so stupid. I shouldn't do that. Like, that's not worth his time. I was proved wrong many times. I still am, but that's just something I would like to give out.
That is a great reminder for all of us. Nothing is too big, nothing is too small for Jesus, and that's so good. Our final question, Avery, why don't you kick us off here? How can we've been talking about you guys for most of the time, but we're going to flip it on to our church now and talking about our job and helping come around you guys and other students and helping grow young believers in the faith. How can we make church a place where students feel known and encouraged?
Yeah, I have a really cool experience that I want to share. A couple months ago, it was one of our youth leaders, Tia. It was her first night here. It was during worship, and I was just really going through something, and I had no one to talk to about it. And so I went back to her. I didn't even know her name. She didn't know mine. We haven't met. And I went to her, and I just explained what was going on, and she was like, let me pray for you. And I think as a church, it's so great. She had a... I'll do it now faith instead of like, oh, I'll do it. Like, I'll pray for you. I think that's something so cool, and it really inspired me.
That's so good. Having that model is so important. Mateo, what about you? What do you think the church should do to rally around to encourage the faith of young students?
One thing I experienced here when I first came was I was welcomed and not judged when I first came into youth group and Sunday mornings and Wednesday morning Bible studies. And I was really just taken in with open arms, and they didn't care who I was. And I see this as something that the church can model from the top down. I'm sure like a lot of parents in this room are telling your kids to invite their other friends to go to VBS, but are we inviting our own coworkers to come to Sunday mornings with us sometimes? Or are we modeling that just like Jesus did? Inviting everyone into his kingdom without a care about what their past was or who they were. So that's just something that I think as a church that we can model from the top down.
That is so good, Mateo. Finley, what about you? What do you think the church can do to make students feel known and encouraged?
Yeah, just like Mateo was saying, inviting people, going up to people who you might not know. It might be their first time, you never know. And so just creating a good space, a good environment for people to hopefully get to know the Lord. And like I said, I still have some connections today that I've made my first time here. And one of the times Victoria invited me for Easter last year. I've never celebrated Easter before in my house, and it was just so like eye-opening for me that it's also not just on Sunday mornings, not just at church, but the whole week, Monday through Saturday, that we should be inviting our brothers and sisters in Christ to things and praying for them, not just one day, but all the time. And like I said, I didn't have a Christian family, but I was invited into a family of Christians, and it's really stuck with me that just how amazing this community is. We're just so blessed, and I just thank the Lord every day for that.
Having an all-week relationship with Jesus, living it out every single day. Callum, I'm excited to hear you because like we mentioned before, you've been at this church for 17 years now, your entire life. What is something that you could see the church doing to rally behind you this final year, to rally behind the other students in this room?
Okay, so Tyler told me that I've been here long enough that I'm allowed to speak to the adults and call them out on something. So if you are not involved in youth ministry, if you are not involved with the kids, if you want to get involved with our youth and you want to have an intentional and deep relationship with somebody, seek them out. Go find a kid that you want to speak life into, that you want to mentor, that you want to help through walks of life, whatever they're going into. Take them to lunch, take them to coffee. I don't know a high school kid that's going to say no to free food. So, yeah, if I can give advice to the adults in the room as a 17-year-old kid, that's what I would say.
That is so good. I think something so amazing about these four is they are young in their faith. Some of them have only known Jesus for 2 years, and yet they're so firm in their understanding and their wisdom that the Lord has given them. Can we thank our amazing speakers for everything they had to share?